Let's try this one more time. See if everything's working. We're going to keep on playing, and if for some reason the stream issues don't resolve on Twitch, just upload the video to YouTube after the fact and stitch everything together. It does say when it's okay. People are seeing this. It says Wendy's swap sides. It does look like we've got a couple of latency issues, but I mean, what can I say? Twitch sucks. The world is horrible. Everyone hates me. But not you guys.
We don't hate you.
Just the rest of the world.
I mean, Josh is trying to kill you.
Just my children. So, all right. With that said, we're going to hand things over to Josh.
Okay, ready to return. Again, big ape-like creature sewn together, one black, one white, slamming fists. It has kind of waded into your group and launched its way at it. We had those guys, specifically Wyatt, take a stab at it and hit. We had Marin from the Brock's crew kind of headbutt and make contact with the flesh of the creature to, bruise it a little bit. Now, how about the Buttercream Gang and Swab? What do you guys do?
Well, Babby is still a little bit disoriented from that shock to face. Sammy knows what to do when something wants to be free. It's trying to tear itself apart, right?
Yeah.
Sammy takes your big old kitchen shears. Because these are like butchery type shears. Like you can get into it, into a chest cavity with them, and just runs around behind. Remember, Sammy's a gnome, so maybe does a cool slide thing between this thing's legs and pops up behind and tries to start sticking. Can Sammy see? Is it actually stitched together?
It's sort of like that fleshy pink material that's sort of similar to what's making up the walls. That is, you can see it's intertwined in the back, the flesh of the creatures. But there is, as they begin to twist and stretch, it's starting to spread. They're not perfectly sewn into each other. They're sewn together. So there is bits to cut if you want to make an attack roll.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Sammy, strength 15 is a +1. Yeah.
I believe so.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We'll call it that.
No,
it does. I mean, it's a 10. 9 on the die +1.
These things aren't the hardest thing to hit, but you're trying to kind of navigate the scissors in there, and they're thrashing around, they're moving, they're trying to punch the shit out of you guys. So the scissors aren't able to make kind of contact to sever those fleshy tendons. Okay, does Baby do anything?
Baby's still disoriented from getting hit in the face. It's kind of like.
Okay. How about the Buttercream Gang?
The Buttercream Gang. Which ape is facing towards most people right now? Are they coming sideways, cartwheeling down the hallway?
They're both. Ooh, that's a good question. Let's say the white one is sort of a little bit closer to facing, but it's not like a perfect back-to-back sew job.
Right.
They can sort of both kind of twist and face you at the same time, but I would say the white one is a little closer to the front.
We've got. Oh, damn! I closed my character sheet. Hold on. We've got. I should open up the one that actually has my characters written in on it. We've got Nova. Nova grabs one of the bottles of questionable cream, and slides towards the white one.
Okay.
It just opens up that bottle of cream and tries to slam it down their throat.
You're trying to push the cream down, or are you trying to hit them with the bottle?
No, I'm trying to feed it the cream.
Feed it the cream. Okay. How about you give me an attack roll?
It's an aggressive feeding, for sure. It's not,
People don't know about the rough side of the Buttercream Gang.
And by people we mean Trinket, the leader of the Buttercream game, is unaware of the rough side of the Buttercream gang, canonically.
Everybody else in the village just, is aware that the Buttercream gang
Look,
that appears in the books is not the nice.
The Buttercream gang has put. Like when I said questionable cream earlier, I didn't realize this was the route we were going to take, but it's trying to put questionable cream down numerous people's throats. Anyways,
No, that's not what I was. Yeah, I was thinking. But yeah,
So yeah, that's what's happening. I rolled a 16. I'm still. Let me see if I can find. Did I ever get my characters back up? Zoo crew. Here we go. Oh yeah, it's flat 16.
Okay. So Nova's kind of like quickly jumps up and kind of scales the ape, shoves the cream in, and just like it's raging. It's kind of getting everywhere. The cream is coating it. You got a lot in there. Maybe you hit a tooth with the bottle.
Damage was not the goal. Drinking this cream accidentally. Because here's the thing: maybe this thing's just hungry. I don't know. Maybe it just needs nourishment. Maybe the cream's going to resolve that. Maybe this cream has gone bad because we really don't know the state of this cream, and it's going to slow this thing down. Whatever happens, cream has gotten inside of this thing now, and that's all I can do.
Yeah, so you kind of see the white one get even more enraged, and it's kind of like pushing against the other one, and the seams start to kind of stretch even further at the sight of the cream getting shoved down its throat.
Oh, guys, it's rage cream! Watch out!
Okay, do Paul and a Trinket do anything, or do they just take off running?
Trinket, I think, is just kind of like what's happening right now. Paul's like hefting the other can of questionable cream and thinking about it. But then I think just decides to okay, we're taking the nurture tactic with one of them. We'll take the non-nurture tactic with the other one and just tries to stab it with a pitchfork.
Okay. Give me an attack roll.
And let me pop over there. That is going to be a 14.
14? That does hit. Roll damage.
Does a pitchfork do a D4 also, or what do we got?
Sure. It is not a weapon of war.
That's a 3.
A 3? All right, perfect. So you stab the pitchfork into the sort of darker haired ape. And again, you get it like in the gut. It's a nice meaty hit, all things considered, especially with a pitchfork. You kind of get it all in. And that's when you see that one start to kind of like twist and pull and push against the other creature. Now, was that Paul that did that?
Paul did that, yeah.
Okay. Is Trinket doing anything? Or
no, Trinket's very confused by what the Buttercream gang is doing because she's never seen this kind of action from them before. They're usually on their best behavior, and she can't imagine what's gotten into them.
Okay. And so as they kind of Paul kind of pulls the pitchfork back out, you see as the creatures push together, and you see the sinewy binds that hold them together sort of rip and tear, and you hear that as they rip themselves free of each other. Now standing as two apes. Still very pissed off. Now, you guys have made it about 3/4 of the way down the hallway collectively as a group, as you're continuing to flee down. We still have one more round before you reach the door. Now, it is the ape's turn once again, this time separate, as they've split their bonds. They're sort of bleeding out their back as the remains of the strips are in there. You can see the big holes or blood is sort of coming out. Still very enraged. Now, the white one is going to take a swipe at those guys if Wendi is still here, but we will come back. And the darker one is going to try and hit Brock's crew. Specifically, it's going to swing at Marin.
Brock's crew has universally 9 armor class and 3 hit points. And that's with the ascending system starting at 10.
Okay. That is a 19 to hit. And it deals 4 points of damage to Marin.
Marin is gone.
Okay, so the ape kind of swipes down with one arm, slams into Marin, who flies and smacks against the wall before landing on the ground, unmoving.
Dropping the death card.
Dropping the death card as it slowly floats down and like lands face up on their corpse.
Right.
So just FYI, Wendy's still here. Just had to turn off her camera so that for stability issues.
Now the white ape did attack those guys, specifically Jaden in this case. Now the swipe from that creature is 8. So unless you have a negative dexterity modifier, that should not hit.
Nope.
Okay. So again, as it freed itself, the white ape kind of slams down with its fist into the ground, just missing Jaden. Okay. Now that these two apes have separated each other, one has batted Marin into the wall. The door is in sight. It is your turn to go. What do you guys do?
Wyatt wants revenge for Mary.
Okay.
Wyatt's gonna run towards the ape that killed Mary, and they're gonna first grab the death card, and while holding the death card, they're gonna try and stab the ape right in the eye with the dagger.
Okay. Give me a attack roll.
Sure. I got a 10 with a +2 modifier. I think I didn't hit.
Okay. So since they are separated, they're less erratic, and they're
Okay.
big hulking apes. So you did make contact with that. So roll damage for me, please.
Oh, okay.
This is the darker haired ape that you're kind of slashing at.
I got a 3.
A 3? Okay. So with that dagger in mind, you kind of jump up and jab it, and you kind of pierce it in one of the eyes, sort of bleeding down its face. Still very angry, still alive, but definitely damaged. Okay. Do the rest of those guys do anything, or do you just flee through the doorway?
I think, yeah, I think they just flee.
Okay. And as those
Wyatt's
guys kind
the
of turn and
muscles.
run down the remainder of the hall, you do get to the door at the end, and at your presence, it kind of shoots open, allowing you passage through. Okay. As the 3 members of those guys kind of run through, leaving Wyatt currently stabbing the ape. Let's go next.
The Swab's Baby Swab. Ooh, Baby Swab follows suit, follows those guys. However, Sammy Swab was standing behind and is just utterly fascinated, like it's on the opposite side of the apes. But it's just like utterly fascinated. So I don't know. I say Sammy Swab is at least has the wherewithal to be kind of sneaky, but doesn't really. It's just mildly paralyzed with fear. It's like she just split these things apart, and now there's 2, and how many legs? Like it's Sammy Swab's mind is blown.
So they're just standing there doing nothing?
She just has no idea what's going on.
All right. How about Brock's crew and the Buttercream Gang?
Brock's crew, having seen the first member of their crew tonight die tonight, fulfills the solemn duty they have to all fallen comrades, which is to sing "What I Did for Love" while running away.
So you flee through the doorway?
We flee through the doorway.
Okay. Now, the Buttercream Gang.
So Paul is like slowly backing up while stabbing this pitchfork into the air. So roll for that first. I don't think that's gonna hit. That's I guess actually it's a 10.
10 does not hit in this case.
And then these are apes. Apes are mammals.
Yep.
Oh
no.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
What's going on?
What is Nova have to roll to attach the milking apparatus to the white ape?
Oh no!
Oh,
I knew
no.
you were gonna do it.
Oh Jesus! An attack roll, but maybe a missile roll as you throw it.
I rolled a 19. Hold on, let me see what my stats are. Oh,
So
yeah,
you-
it's a straight
wow.
19
Launch.
to milk this white ape.
You launch the apparatus up, and it sort of lands on, like, perfectly suctions to the chest of this ape, which doesn't appear to be lactating, but it's on there.
It must hurt, right?
You did some shame damage to it.
I mean, it got like split down the middle. Maybe there's like got to be blood somewhere. Is it pumping its blood?
Well, it's only attached right now. It is a
Oh.
manual. No one's pumping it yet. I mean, that's a follow-up action.
Baby turns around and is spinning back. It says, "Pump it, you idiots!"
Yeah. So you see, again, it's got a number. It's for a cow, so it's got a number of points that have sort of like latched itself onto the creature, but just chilling there at the moment.
You're closer, baby. Do it.
On my next turn.
I think that's everybody's turn around. Other than like you see Trinket almost kind of start towards the pump, but not actually move. Like is still very confused by what's happening.
Okay, so if I got things right, those guys have sort of all exited except for Wyatt, who is currently stabbing. Out of the Slob gang, Sammy is kind of like sitting there in shock with Baby sort of running through the doorway. The Buttercream gang is sort of, I'm assuming, still in the main chamber at this point.
Yeah, like they're like slowly moving back towards the door, but like they're kind of pacing these ape creatures.
Okay, and then what about Brock's crew? Are they
went through the door.
They flew.
They
through the
were
door?
just like, I thought we were all gonna like throw somebody in our crew at the apes while the rest of us made an escape.
Well, they threw an apparatus at it. Now, these apes are still enraged. Again, it's back to their turn. We'll assume just one more turn for both the apes and you guys before you flee. But the ape swings at Sammy, who is kind of sitting there in shock. It notices behind it, kind of takes a swing, turns back and looks at it. That is going to be a 7 to hit.
No.
I think you're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other ape is going to take a swing at Paul, who's got the pitchfork from the Buttercream gang. That's cocked. That is going to be a 16 to hit.
Paul's really good at dodging, but that does hit.
Okay. As the fist of this one ape collides into Paul, it does 4 points of damage.
Oh man, Paul actually can survive that.
Go, Paul.
Paul like gets spun around, blood swings out across the wall. His jaw looks a little bit unhinged, but he doesn't fall to the floor.
Now, you guys have an opportunity as the ape creature. One sort of takes a swing at Sammy, but misses the other, Paul, and hits and connect. They have a moment to distract. Now, you have the opportunity to run through the door, or you can make one last attack before fleeing, or trying to...
We can't leave a Chekhov's milk pump on the table.
Which ape creature have I stabbed in the eye? The white or the black one?
Oh boy, I didn't actually write that down. I believe it's the darker. Of
I think the
two
black
aces
one's the
instead.
only one who's actually taken damage. Yeah.
Okay. So I think actually Wyatt is like kind of grabbing the ape creature in a kind of in a leg lock, and kind of like Black Widow in the Avengers. Um,
So is
and
Wyatt trying to sort of provide distraction while the rest of you guys run away,
no.
or milk the?
When Wyatt jumped, they just kind of tried to stay there. So um, they they're gonna try to set the ape on fire with the torch that
Okay.
they somehow managed to keep on holding.
Sure. How about you roll me attack roll? Again, we'll just assume it's like an improvised weapon, so a strength-based attack roll.
Uh, I got a chew.
What's you? Okay, so you're hitting it hard if you're in that close of proximity. So you're probably like smacking it, but hitting it in such a way that the embers sort of cascade on it to light the fur was not something you could do at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, is Wyatt going to continue that attack later in the future? Or do they kind of disengage and run through the door?
They disengage me.
Okay. Now the rest of those who exist in here, I believe the Brock's crew is gone. Those guys are all gone now.
It's just the Buttercream gang. We all know what's happening here.
Well, and Sammy's bringing
It's
up.
Sammy.
Sammy's well behind everyone else.
Is Sammy gonna hop on that pump? What's happening?
I think that's probably what's going to happen. That'll be the last move. Buttercreams, save yourselves! Sammy screams, and then gets over to. And so, what are we talking here? We're talking like
Yeah, I think it's like a
water
plunger. It's like a plunger that you have to work.
Kind of like a burple, but like a big burple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Because Sammy's just making the sounds because Sammy's used to. Sammy doesn't get to actually help with the actual milking of the animals, so Sammy just makes sounds.
Okay. Does the Buttercream Kang use that distraction to flee?
It's probably the smart choice. Let's let's say everybody except for Nova, my other two, make it through the door, but Nova stays behind to help Sammy.
Okay, this is sort of like a cinematic now.
Nova's gonna pick up. So one of Nova's items is a cask of black powder. So Nova's gonna pick up one of those items, embers from the ground that the torch kind of just scattered off, and slowly move it towards the black powder barrel, as the doors swish shut behind everybody else.
As you guys run into the room, the collective group, you see again the door sort of like cascade. This is one of those like circular doors that kind of opens and closes. A metallic orifice like in nature. As you watch as it sort of like circles to get together, you see Sammy, you hear the sound of Sammy going with the machine, and see that there some of those tubes are starting to get filled with the blood of the ape after a couple of quick pumps as it had suctioned onto some of the wounds. And then you see Nova with this ball of black powder and ember in hand of some regard, walking towards it as the doors close before you hear the whomp from behind them, leaving their fates unknown as well.
Who knows?
Oh no!
Oh no!
Okay.
Our milking apparatus.
So, you find yourselves now in a long hallway. It sort of juts to the east a little bit further along the line before turning and heading northward. Now, this is a little more enclosed. Probably 8 to 12 foot ceilings. The walls are fairly far apart. You can stand maybe like two abreast type of deal. It's a little bit rounded. All that fleshy materials sort of pulsing along the edge, and that steel floor continues onward. Now, the door of the hallway, said it goes down, and it snakes. And at the end of that long stretch, you see another doorway. Is there anything you guys need to do? Or do you just immediately kind of turn tail and run down that hallway?
Baby is following hot on the heels of those guys, almost pushing to get around and through and away from whatever the hell is happening here.
Yeah, Trinket gets kind of swept along with the crowd. You see Paul like turn towards the door and put his hand against it, and just a tear comes to his eye, and he gently whispers, "All their stuff."
Wyatt just puts their arm around Paul's shoulders.
Brock's crew finishes what I did for love. And when the last note resolves, they turn and start running.
Okay. So, as you begin to head down the hallway, you run. And an experience like you've never felt before occurs as you're running down this hallway. It's as if the floor beneath you has fallen away. But you don't see any drop. You suddenly feel yourselves being lifted off, and you see the hallway kind of shift really quickly before righting itself back up. Consequently, slamming you back down into the floor. Now, I need your groups to make a collective save. In this case, save versus paralysis. But again, we have that one save value.
Brock's crew fails with a 5.
Okay.
I rolled exactly 14. Is that a success?
I believe so.
Baby is safe. Baby
Safe?
had a 19.
Perfect.
Yeah, I rolled a 17.
That's 17. Okay, so I believe Brock's crew is the only one who failed.
Yeah.
So as the hallway shifts, gravity leaves but for a second, and then you slam back down into the hallway. It is Livingston, who the other two members of the party sort of lean into Livingston and kind of push them against the wall as they're kind of cracking down together. The cumulative force is just a point of damage to Livingston.
Well, we no longer all have the same hit points. So.
Okay, so they're still breathing?
Yeah.
Okay. But after a moment, that stomach churning sensation kind of goes away. You've all kind of shaken as you're kind of like picking yourselves up off of the ground. And that hallway still lies stretched ahead of you.
Baby's going forward.
Yeah, Livingston's staying hot on Baby's heels.
Okay.
Trinket's kind of moving along more slowly and concernedly at this point in time, and Paul kind of pulls himself away from the door.
Wyatt is at the back near Paul, and the rest of those guys are just right at the front, running for their lives.
Okay. So soon, you quickly run down the hallway, collectively make it. Again, no other strange encounters outside of that one bit of anomaly. Now, you reach the end of the hallway. It's another one of those metallic sort of circular doors that sort of opens itself up as you approach. Now, light from the hallway sort of cascades inward, but as you cross the threshold, you find yourselves in a dark room. And once you enter, the door kind of like whooshing, shuts behind you, cascading the room in darkness.
Like, is it like total darkness, or is it like the gloaming type?
So I would say total darkness. There is no light in here, and there are no windows. So,
Is your torch still working, or did the ape put it out when we failed to set it on fire?
oh, good question. Let me see. As you bashed the torch into the ape, I would say that the fire went out.
Yeah, sorry guys.
I have a star-shaped candle.
Oh, me too.
Okay. Assuming you guys have the accompanying match to light it, you get a quick and you light the candles, and it just gives you that little bit of illumination to kind of light up the room. Now, as you step forward, one thing you notice is you step and you hear the crunch of your feet on glass, and as you kind of use the little candles to clear down, you see that there's glass just covering the floor. Using what little illumination you have, you kind of take the lights and kind of use them to kind of see what's in the room. Now, you find yourselves it's a small room, probably the smallest that you've been in so far. This one is filled with cabinets and cupboards. It's not the fleshy walls that you had seen. These are sort of the metallic that you have seen kind of making up the floors, and the doors and stuff is sort of made into these cabinet-like structures that sort of kind of coat the room here. Now, in this case, in the candlelight, you do see two doorways, one to the north and one to the east.
Which way did we enter from?
You entered through the south, heading north.
Okay.
Baby's probably going to just keep doing a Scooby-Doo and busting straight to the north door.
Oh yeah, I feel like all of Brock's crew are right on. Yeah, following Baby.
Okay. Now you quickly run up to the north door, and this one doesn't open.
Try the other door.
Is there a and Baby bounces off? Yes.
Yeah, assuming that the door was going to open up automatically again, you run towards it and then smack into the door as it does not respond.
And the glass extends all throughout the floor here, right?
The shattered glass,
Yeah.
it's more focused in the center of the room, but it's as if somebody shattered a bottle or something like that, and it's kind of all over the center portion of the floor. It's not everywhere.
Gotcha. And it's like one bottle worth of glass, shattered glass.
It's hard to say. It's quite a lot, but
okay.
Trinket and Paul are looking around for a light switch or a lantern or something that they can use a lever that they can throw that'll turn on lights.
As you peer around the room, doesn't seem to be anything you would recognize as.
And I guess that's what Trinket's looking for. Paul's looking for anything he can swipe. Sorry, not Paul.
So opening up the various cabinets and stuff, you see bags of food stuff. A bunch of glass containers is in one of the cabinets there. Maybe some metal, small metal tools that have kind of been shoved in a drawer somewhere. Things of that regard.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab some of those metal tools. Paul's
Okay.
just
They are things that you're not really familiar with.
doesn't matter. They're shiny and metal.
Yeah, they're forceps, and there's probably a scalpel in there. A bunch of really random stuff. Just small metallic. It's this very, very finely made in terms of the stuff that you would be familiar with.
Yeah, to say, Paul's seen burglars, and he's a trapper, so he's these type of worked metals, and I would say she's actually Trinket's a goldsmith. So these look especially finely crafted to me.
Yeah, it would be what's that? Was it aluminum that was rare back in the day? It would be something like that, where we would think of it as the common material, but it would be sort of foreign or rare to the average individual in this time period, at least.
Think about how many people we can feed with all these riches.
Jaden is just looking for a shard of glass that she can use as a weapon.
Okay, there's probably one maybe 4 inches long.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest of the shards.
So Livingston is studying that north door to see if there's a way to force it open, or if there's something that to lever with. He's got the little screwdriver out of his lockpick tools and is poking around the edges of whatever seems most likely, the edges of the frame, if there's not something in the center.
Okay, so as you look at the door, again, it's one of those circular doors. You see a little bit off to the side. There is sort of like a panel like you saw on that first door that you guys encountered. This is much smaller. And instead of levers, there is this like rectangular hole. It's thin. It's probably about that long. It's like somebody could shove a Pop-Tart in if they want to.
All right.
That's the only distinguishing feature outside of like the closed bits of the door there.
So I'll just have Livingston jam his little screwdriver lockpick right into that hole.
Okay. Roll a d6 for me, please.
That's a 3.
A 3? You're kind of jamming that screwdriver in there, and it's not having much luck.
It's stuck. I tell baby.
Baby picks himself up off the floor and just puts his hand in that slot.
Baby's fingers are probably a little too beefy for that. Like I said, it's like you could, for point of comparison, you could shove a Pop-Tart in there. So they're kind of like jamming it in, and it's not really working.
Baby tries. Baby's trying to punch the wall.
Okay. Resounding boom as the fist hits, and probably nice bruised knuckles.
I think Jaden has a hive smoker, and they're gonna just jam the hive smokers, the thingy where the smoke goes out, inside.
So you're gonna jam it in the slot and start smoking it?
You start smoking it, yeah.
Okay. So you put some smoke in, and it's just not going anywhere. It you get a little bit in there, and it just starts pouring out of this little slot.
Oh. Worth a try.
Okay, so you still got a bunch of cabinets. There's glass on the ground, and there is still one more door you guys haven't tried.
I think, yeah, Brock and Reed are going to walk over and look at that other door, the east door.
Okay. As you approach the east door, once you get in proximity, it just whoop, opens up for you.
Oh, we get out, we follow.
Yeah.
As light sort of floods into this room from the other room.
Brock will stick his nose through that door and look into the whatever's next before we all go through.
Okay, so what you see, it's quite a sight. Again, this has been a day of new experiences, and this one, a new experience as well. Now, as you peer through, you see what looks like the opposite end of those glass chambers. On your left-hand side, what would be the south, as you peer through this door that was on the east, you see, again, those sheer panes of glass, a long, long room to accommodate. Each of those sets of glass has sort of like a table sitting next to it, and maybe something, bits of tools and stuff to kind of observe it. However, as you look around the rest of the room, you see surgical tools, what you could assume to be medical supplies, beakers and jars and containers of these liquids that you can only imagine what is inside them. You see operating tables, what we would identify as operating tables, kind of strewn out in a semi-neat fashion in the room. These ones are stained. You see the bits of blood. There's probably remains of familiar creatures sitting on them. At the far side, the outer edge, as you stare in, you can see 3 egg-shaped constructs kind of against the wall on the far side. These things are wide, and they're probably about 10 feet tall. Again, the ceilings are even higher than that in this room. They have like a pane of glass on the front of them that you can kind of see. But again, these are on the far side of the room, so it's hard to see exactly what's going on with those. But the most striking feature is the creature you see. Now, standing within is this mass of this bluish white flesh. It's as it's sitting there, it's kind of like formed over one of those tables that has a creature on it. You see many tentacled arms sort of like reaching out, various tools in the hand. You also see the swirl of color on its side that almost looks like it's formed of faces. But then there is the one giant eye that sits at it, sort of like it's bowed over this table, the eye sort of like focusing down, little tentacles at work at this thing. Hanging from the equivalent of its neck is a pendant, like a necklace with a square pendant kind of like hanging in the wind now, as this creature is sort of like bent over the table, digging into the flesh of whatever creature lies on it. And as you open that door, you see the whole head kind of shift upwards, large eye focus in on you.
Baby wants to punch.
Okay. So do you all rush in?
Baby's had enough. Baby didn't have a problem sacrificing, one of his friends, because, sometimes we play like, what's down in the well, Avon? And, okay, that was a mistake. We lost Avon. But then when this place that they're in, everybody else started getting dead. Now Baby's really pissed off. And so, Southpaw too, like just coming in left-handed, right at the eye.
Okay. As Baby rushes in, do the rest of you follow?
Livingston does.
I presumed.
Yeah. Like Livingston, not that bright. Brock and Reed, way brighter. So Livingston is going to go right on as Brock and Reed start to look for a place to take cover.
Okay.
Sage starts looking at the book of arcane research, trying to figure out what kind of demon this is.
There was nothing like you've ever seen in that book.
Yeah, but she keeps on trying. It must be a demon.
Now, as Baby rushes in, fists up, southpaw ready to go, the creature kind of like, again, it's sort of hunched over in this sort of U shape as it. Ooh, we lost Wendi. Is that just me? Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I freeze for a second.
You're good.
Okay, so as Baby is rushing in, the creature, again, it's sort of hunched over in this U shape, eye sort of swiveling up in your direction. Like I said, that pendant with the necklace with the square pendant swinging in the wind, it stands upright. Its form a little bit more humanoid isn't even remotely close to explaining it, but you can kind of see legs, you can kind of see a form of a body, and the stalk of an eye where its head would reside in a standard humanoid. But as it stands up, its flesh begins to sort of boil and change from that blue and white. The giant eye sort of shrinks back down into it. The blue turns from that flesh, like white color, I guess, into something more darker. You see fur start to sprout from it, and soon before you lies the massive form of a bear. Again, pendant swinging down, tools clattering to the ground as it drops them. And as Baby rushes in, the bear sort of like gets upright and lurches in its direction. I need someone to roll D6 for initiative.
Not Richard.
What did I do?
I rolled a 4.
I rolled a 6, so if this creature goes first. No. I don't need to randomly roll because Baby was the first in the room.
Absolutely. Good Baby in slow motion.
So it lurches forward. Let's see. Let me write down my stats. Lurches forward in bear form, claws running out. It's going to take one swipe at Baby.
That's all it's going to take.
It doesn't hit though, so I got a 5.
Wow.
Go, Baby.
Baby does some bullet time bullshit.
Nobody puts Baby in the corner.
Exactly. Nobody punches, nobody counterattacks Baby while Baby's trying to punch them in the eye hole, and Baby just absolutely connects. Well, tries to connect.
Sure. Yeah, roll
shall
attack. It's your turn yourself.
Hell no. That's a 4 on the die.
Before
Not
the
even-
the baby
not even
connects, but it hits hard muscle bear flesh.
I think Baby's hand probably just crumples, like just bone.
Okay. And so that was the remains of Swab. What do the Buttercream Gang, those guys, and Brock's crew do as you're sort of still kind of standing in the threshold of this we would understand it as to be some sort of laboratory. But between that storage room behind you of the darkness, the doorway that is opened up, and this bear creature standing in the laboratory, what do you guys do?
Livingston does the only logical thing that you could possibly think of, which is to try to tackle the bear.
Tackle the bear? Okay. How does grapple work in OSC? Is that what we want to try and do? I don't know what this mechanic is. Hold on. Is there grappling rules in BX?
I don't know. Sounds like a
There
strength check.
There were not in BX, but I think like somebody suggested once, like attack followed by save.
Sure. Sounds good to me.
So, Livingston got a 6.
A 6. Okay. So as you run to kind of tackle into this creature to begin to take it down, again, you thud into... This is like werebear size, like dire bear type thing. It's not like a standard black bear. It's huge, like 8 feet tall standing on its... More than that, probably 12 feet tall standing on its hind legs. You thud into muscled bear flesh. And you kind of grab it around, but you're not making any headway.
I'm dropping you in a second. He says, like a third of the size of the bear, like doing nothing.
Okay.
A bear we can deal with. A bear is okay compared to the demon thing we saw before. So I think all of those guys rush towards the bear, and while the other 3 try to just do some damage to the bear, Sage grabs anything that looks sharp, like maybe
There's probably some like
bone,
tools that you can grab easily.
yeah, a bone saw or something, and tries to steal the amulet.
Oh, okay. So,
the other 3 are attacking, and Sage is trying to just grab the amulet.
okay. So, how about you give me 4 attack rolls? We'll handle Sages in a moment. So between Jaden, Wapasha, and Wyatt, you have 3 d20 rolls if you would like.
So I got a 17, a
17, okay.
2, and a 10.
All right, the 17 hits.
And I think, yeah, only Wyatt has a modifier. Oh no, actually the other 2 have minus 1. So yeah.
So a 16 would still hit if that was the correct roll. Okay, whoever rolled that high, do they have any weapons or anything like that, or is it just fist into flesh?
I think it's Wyatt with the dagger.
Okay, so give me a d4 then, as you kind of slice at this now massive bear creature.
I get a 4.
4, okay. So you managed to get quite a substantial slash with that dagger, kind of across the midsection. You see blood start to well up in the wound left behind. Now, with Sage, as you kind of swipe at the pendant to try and kind of cut it off, I'm going to need you to make an attack roll in this case, but it's going to be a little bit harder than hitting the creature itself.
I got a 12 plus 1.
As you go to swipe, you feel it. You kind of even connect with some of the leather cord that wraps around it, but it's not enough to kind of sever it as the creature swings and the pendant kind of like goes with it. Okay, that was those guys. Let's see. I believe it's the Buttercream gang that's left.
Yeah. So Trinket is kind of like standing in the doorway, looking around, kind of taking things in this room. Paul is like running in with that pitchfork though, like 100%, no doubt.
Okay.
So what Paul do? That's a 19.
19 does hit.
So
So give me a D4.
it's 4 damage.
4 damage. Again, another resounding after the slash. You coming in with a pitchfork and just jamming it into the gut of this thing. All 4 barbs of that pitchfork kind of piercing in, and you see the blood of the wound kind of swell around it. Again, doing a substantial amount of damage to this creature. Now it's bloodied. You've done quite a bit of damage to it, but it is still going strong in some regards.
So as Trinket kind of takes this room in for the first time, she's kind of mechanically minded. Other than the fact that this is obviously a surgical room of some sort, is there any indication of what any of this equipment might do?
It's hard to say without closer examination.
Is there a light in the room?
So there are those bulbs embedded in the ceiling, and again, the walls of this room are that same fleshy like material, and so you can kind of see up above for you though those bulbs are.
But not an articulated light, nothing hanging over the surgical station.
There probably is in this case. There are, I would say that each table probably has a little like side table and light that kind of like cascades down. It wouldn't necessarily be something we would recognize as being in like a doctor's office, but some sort of simile to that would be logical.
I think what she's going to try to do is just, if the tables are on wheels, just kind of slam one into this creature. Like she does not want to get close to it.
Okay. So I would say that's probably an ability check. So maybe strength in this case to push the table.
Okay. I rolled a 4, so I got it.
Okay. How about a D6? So these are fairly heavy tables. As you kind of run behind it, push.
That's a 4.
A 4. Okay. And so as the pitchfork kind of hits into the flesh and the dagger draws across, this table just wheels out of almost nowhere. Boom! Slams into the side of it. You can see it kind of jerk to the side. It lets out a very like. Have you guys seen Annihilation? You know the bear creature in that talks in like a human voice? The scream that comes out of this bear is not the scream of a bear. It's like this hollow like yell that's sort of haunting, but it's a hurt yelp as this table slams into its side, dealing quite a substantial amount of damage. And it's still up, it is still alive, but you guys have done a number on it.
Livingston is very proud that he held it still while we just attacked, right? Intensely. So,
okay. Is anybody else left? I believe that was all y'all, right?
Yeah.
So is everybody.
Okay, so it is the bear creature. Again, it's only going to swipe once. In this instance, it's going to try and hit one of those guys, in particular, Wyatt. Now, it takes a swipe with its clawed hand, rolling very terribly, 6.
Yeah, you're no match for the astrologer.
It's just not hit. Okay, so again, it kind of swipes, missing Wyatt. Now, you guys have beat this creature almost to submission. I don't think we just based on the numbers game, we don't really have to roll, but we can kind of decide how you want to take it down.
whatever everybody else does, Livingston's going to start by stepping hard on its paw, like its foot. So it's like, doubles over comically.
Okay, so a table slams into it. Livingston kind of jams down on the foot. You hear, again, that hollow, like, bear human scream coming out of it as it sort of lifts up and shifts in another direction.
Sage is gonna keep trying to snatch the pendant.
Okay. Now, Sage, as the creature's kind of hit left and right, the bandit is there, the pendant is kind of swinging. Sage is like furiously grabbing at it, waiting for the creature to fall.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys just keep stabbing, punching, and slashing?
I flipped the table over on top of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
baby wants final revenge. Baby wants to punch Splorch where the eye was. I guess where the snout is now.
So table hitting in
Paul-
the side.
Paul picks baby up on two hands like this, and they go horizontal to the ground, and then I drop them fist first after spinning them in the air.
All right, so just a big gang up on this creature where you punching, pitchfork stabbing, knife slashes, table being flipped onto it, and you hear again that hollow like coming from the creature as it gives one final thrash and throw of life before hitting the ground in a resounding slam, seemingly dead. Now, after a moment, you see the flesh again begin to kind of warble and warp and turn from that fur of the bear back into that white and blue flesh, a little less put together this time. You see the remains of an eye just kind of floating in this blob of flesh. Again, you still see the lanyard without the pendant there that Sage is able to kind of quickly grab and hold onto as this jellyfish-like blob of amorphous flesh sort of reverts from the bear creature lying on the floor in front of you.
That wasn't scary at all. I feel great. Says
Invigorated
Livingston.
even.
Invigorated, yes.
Awesome. It's been about another hour. Do we think that maybe is this a good stopping space, or do you have another encounter that you were really hoping to get to?
So you guys have found the key. I can wrap this up if we're ready to go.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was not. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay. So with Sage having grabbed this rectangular pendant from it, it's interesting. You kind of pick it up and it looks sort of like a magic inscribed stone, but it's very finely shaved rectangle. It's got all sorts of like metallic script on it. With some kind of playing around, you're able to kind of approach those orbs, those egg-like shapes that lie in the back. Each of those has another one of those Pop-Tart slots on it. A little bit of tinkering, slide that pendant in. The glass on the front of it opens itself up. Inside is another small table with all manner of arcane things on it. But again, another slot. And a quick test. Shink. All of those little symbols that lie on that summoning table at the head start to light up and blink and flash. As all of you kind of crowd in to see what is going on, you feel again that sudden feeling of weightlessness in your stomach as this pod that is now closed itself around you at the far end of the lab. You turn to look back and get one more look of the interior of the ship as it launches itself from the bottom, sending you cascading down towards the ground, giving you a nice view of your burning village as the ship continues to ascend before landing on the ground in a resounding thud, throwing all of you on top of each other before the glass opens up, letting you back into the ruined remains of the village you once inhabited.
Paul pours a shot of questionable cream for everybody.
I was gonna say there's probably some death saves at the end there. We were all beat up when we landed in the escape pod tube on back on planet X. Like
Really just baffled that Livingston is alive.
Yeah, so out of the Buttercream gang, we lost Nova and Slips, leaving Paul and Trinket still alive. Those guys, every single one of them survived.
which is spot on.
I was rolling really poorly against them. Out of the swabs, it is only Baby that lives.
This baby.
There are no more blue-skinned gnomes on this planet. And
Those were the last ones?
Yep.
We really should have taken better care of them.
And out of Brock's crew, only Marin perished, leaving Reed, Livingston, and Brock still living.
Beautiful. Let's do our reaction roll. Reaction roll is a live stream within a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the creator of a game we just played and talk to them about that game today. We are playing Zed and Two Noughts with Josh Domanski, one of the two creators. and we are going to talk about what our thoughts were right now. Josh, for anybody watching this later, anybody joining us recently, tell us what is Zed and Two Noughts.
All right, so Zed Two Noughts is the level 0 funnel designed specifically for old school essentials or your favorite basic expert equivalent. The goal is to take a bunch of nobodies, a bunch of villagers, farmers, apprentices, and throw them through the ringer, and at the end they come out ready to become full-fledged adventurers and gain their first level and face the dangers of the world.
Because now we need revenge on those aliens that,
Yeah.
took care of our people. Awesome. I can't wait to hear from everybody else what they thought. Let's start with Jarrett. Jarrett, you got to see some of this beforehand, but none of the adventure parts, none of the final product. You knew this was happening. Tell us what it was like to play Zed and Two Noughts.
Like I said earlier, I kept myself spoiler freed. Fantastic job, Josh and Riley, because I'm sure they're watching as well. And Matt with editing, Andrew with art. It is, as like I said, as a veteran of a shit ton of DCC funnels and just games in general, and playing it, shows, fast paced, high lethality, stuff like that. It is hard mode compared to a DCC funnel because there's no luck that I can be like, hey, can I burn a point of luck to change that roll? It's like, no, you're just fucking dead. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, So for me, I'm gonna lean into that because I love that part of it. That's as far as adapting and adopting the funnel conceit concept over to OSC. I will definitely be maybe next time I'm running some DCC, I'll be like, no, we're not going to play with luck this time. People will be like, what? I'm going to be like, no, we'll just try it without luck. All right.
You're all dead.
Fish in a barrel. I had super fun. Thank you for running. It's been a long several months prep for all of us at EF with getting all of this stuff through, and for me, like a reward of like, yay, a game. Woo! Like I absolutely love it. It's thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for making this a possibility. You're making our lives significantly easier handling the production end of things. So
I just like seeing cool stuff made. So you succeeded.
And then Jarrett, and also anybody who's out there watching right now, did you have any questions you wanted to ask Josh about the game?
No, I mean, I'm like you said. I mean, I'm aware of like the source material a little bit, and then all the games, all the stuff that we all play, leading up to it. So, no, I think it's fabulous. I guess I lied. How fast are you and Riley going to get the second one going?
We are currently in the process of making it.
The answer I want to hear.
Yeah, as a hint, it is we're working with the title Tangled. It's going to be more of a traditional dungeon crawl with a fun little twist on it. So keep your eyes open next year.
It's awesome. It's my favorite Pixar film, so I'm super excited to see what y'all do with the Rapunzel story. With that said, you're also not on social media. If people want to find you, the best place is hanging out in the Exalted Discord.
Yep, over on the Necropolis. I am there, or the Mothership Discord, or Malsonian Arts Council Discord, OSE sometimes, Mercury. I'm just around a bunch of little places.
Awesome. Let's hop up to Richard Ruane. Richard, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, and what it was like to play Zed and Two Noughts.
Hey, I'm Richard. I am the creator of Barrakeep and Enoch's Wake, and you can find me at ARR underscore ROO. That's ARR underscore ROO on Twitter, or on Discord. If you see me on Discord, though, chances are that I have joined the Discord and then gotten overwhelmed and muted it, because that's just the standard operating procedure for me. There's too many great Discords. And I was going to say the same thing Jarrett did, which is I was incredible to kind of watch funnels unfold without the ability to fall back on luck. was just a ton of fun. And I was really impressed like especially trap things, like things that we would call traps, things that deal damage without really being creatures, uh, were really fun to deal with. Normally I'm not a trap person. That first trap door was I felt, like we really accomplished something in the slowest, goofiest way
Yeah.
possible.
We took our time.
We took our time, yes. And there's so much about that first room that I still have questions about, but I don't want to produce any spoilers. But yeah, and I love the kind of Weird Tales feel of the adventure, that that like a boundary between fantasy and science fiction, and just it was really just consistently great throughout. So
yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I'm kind of stuck for a question right now. I feel like I should, if it had not just been Thanksgiving and I not just consumed tons of food, I probably would have a question. But right now I'm just sort of taking things as they come.
As always, if you come up with one, think of one, feel free to shout it out in just a second. Let's hop over to Wendi. Wendi, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, but also tell us what it was like to play Zed and Two Noughts.
Hey, so first of all, sorry for not having my camera on right now. My connection is kind of bad right now. But I'm Wendi. I'm a trans writer and game designer from Brazil. I'm also nobody worthwhile or important in any way in the gaming hobby, according to Nazis. So I guess I'm doing something right. Um, you can find me at all my links and stuff at wendyU.card with .co. And I have a Kickstarter going on right now, the Let Him Breakout Kickstarter, which is a project with 5 amazing games from 5 awesome, brilliant creators, which I'm one of them. And I have this game going on called Here There Be Monsters. That's part of it. And I have a game at Exalted Funeral right now called Marvelous Mutations and Merry Musicians, for short. Go check it out, please. It's a labor of love, and I really like that game. And playing this was like lots of firsts for me because it's the first time I played OSE, and it was my first funnel as well. I've never played this funnel before, and I thought it was really fun. Um, Being trans myself, I'm not shocked that I was defeated by a trap. But oh, that's an awful joke, but okay. Uh, but yeah, I was telling Josh while we were on break that this is just my kind of weirdness. I love the whole vibe and the flashy bits and the idea of putting fantasy characters in a sci-fi slash cosmic horror experience is very, very fun. And I love playing the funnel. I'm surprised that none of my characters died because I'm usually the player that presses the red button in the dungeon. So I'm really surprised that I didn't die. But yeah, it was awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of this. And my question would be, um, what were the influences on your mind when you were working on this? Because I feel it if they are not my influences, I really should check them out because this is pretty damn wonderful.
So I don't want to speak for Riley specifically, so I can kind of talk about the stuff that I helped contribute to. It's interesting. So one of the first parts of inspiration that we had this idea sort of started to come together, not really because of DCC specifically, but more because of The Drain, which is one of Ian Newsom's projects for Mothership, where they took the funnel mechanics and sort of applied that to Mothership. And I've run The Drain. I've run another. I think I ran Dinoplex Cataclysm, another one of Ian's adventures as a funnel. Starting into that, so my background in terms of like the hobby is sort of more sci-fi slanted. And so I'm gonna make anything I do is gonna have a little bit of sci-fi in it, just because I like the aesthetic. But you can kind of link this to a few things. One of the enemies here is the idea was sort of sprouted from Justice League Unlimited, the 90s, I think it's 90s cartoon. That makes sense in my brain, but I don't know if anybody else will get that reference. What else do we do? There is, Barrier Peaks, the classic D&D adventure where you're sort of starting in this fantasy setting and slowly diving yourself into sci-fi. That was another one of the points that I was sort of thinking of when trying to help put this thing together. I was reading the Alien RPG a bit too. A little bit of influence seeped in from that. So it's not the typical sources of fantasy. Like I said, it's more on my end, definitely sci-fi for sure. And then trying to make a horrible, terrible adventure. But they also did this. So Goodman Games does these streams on Twitch every so often. Goodman Games being the folks who make DCC. And back for DCC Day during the summer, they did this funnel seminar where they talked about the process of creating a funnel for, well, specifically DCC, but it was also super useful in terms of thinking of like the general design, what you can and can't do in a funnel, what makes good funnel content. And so that was something that was sort of ever buzzing around in my mind. And I would recommend everybody realistically go and check that video out. Like I said, you can find it on Goodman Games YouTube channel. It's the funnel seminar. It was a pretty fascinating talk.
Love it. That's awesome. I had a blast. We had a couple of questions in the chat, but really only from Riley, which is, did Avon escape or not?
So Avon may be alive. Escape? Maybe not.
Yeah, I think Avon went ahead and went on to meet Planet and is now existed to bring it all back home to fleshy meat in DCC. Hobonomicon issue 2, I think, is where we put Meat Planet in. The whole time I was just like, oh, this is I get to play somebody else's version of a Meat Planet. So good.
It was
there is a canonical answer for what Avon's fate was, but I don't want to spoil it, so go and buy the module.
100%.
See, there you go.
100%. No, I love it. I'm super excited by it. Can't wait to kind of dig through and see some of the different pieces of action. I'm a big fan of The Drain, but I'm a big fan of taking zero-level concepts and applying them more broadly to RPGs that they fit with, right? Obviously, there's not every RPG is going to benefit from a zero-level funnel, but I love them. We used The Drain to stress test some of our space game Through the Void. We actually played Meat Grinder with those same characters at the end also too, and are going to go back and play the space battle pretty soon also too. So I mean, I'm a big fan of watching that kind of progression happen, seeing what takes place with that, and I also like it. It speaks to me really clearly. One of the things that I think, especially with, this is kind of a weird jump, with solo RPGs, a lot of them are written by a player taking control of a character. But with OSR games, I'm always super curious why there aren't more where it's like, hey, if you have 2 or 3 people survive a funnel, that's cool. That just means you have 2 or 3 characters until 1 or 2 of them dies. And then when the third one dies, you grow up a new character. Like, I mean, it is, I think it opens players up to more being aware of like, hey, I don't have to be restricted into a 1-player, 1-character mindset. And without going into weird like GM NPC vibes. and it creates really interesting opportunities for like solo play in systems that have a good oracle setup that would allow you to do that by just saying like, yeah, you can take 4 or 5 people into this dungeons and that's going to be your party. You're just playing by yourself, but it can still be a whole lot of fun. And I think the more games we see that kind of broaden players' exposure to the concept of funnels and running multiple players at the same time, you get to see that. And it just changes we didn't ever swarm anybody and just overwhelm them, but it changes a lot of the tactics that you can have when you're controlling numerous players, or numerous characters rather, as you go. And so, no, I had an absolute blast. I can't wait to see the next one. I do want to know, is there any sort of connection with a Zed and Two Noughts between a Zed and Two Noughts? Are you familiar with this film?
That is something that Riley has talked about. I believe that might be the source of the name. It is not something I was familiar with going into this and haven't had a chance to check it out yet.
Okay.
So,
Riley
I think that
Riley
I
said
think
nope
there's
in the
some
chat.
connection between the two of them, but that's even a mystery to me.
And so, yeah, because when I was originally doing it, I was like, I'm sure I have heard this name before. And so, but there's no very evident ones, but there are some like tonal pieces that kind of match from almost the alien perspective side of things. He says the only reference is in the apes symmetry. So, no, but I had an absolute blast running it. It was a great stream. Sorry about the technical difficulties in the middle for anybody. Riley says everybody should go watch Peter Greenway's Zed and Two Noughts also too. With that said, we do streams here on a regular basis here on Plus One EXP, as well as interviews, community conversations, and other pieces. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Malaysian time, we are going to be playing Reach of the Roach God, which Zedek Su is going to come run using our house OSR system. Down we go. Zedek actually just wrote some banger, what he called backgrounds for playing Down We Go in Thousand Islands as a setting, and I'm super excited to drop those out also too. Yeah, didn't was just like, hey, are you cool that I wrote these awesome things for a game you helped create? And I was like, yes. And now I'm dead inside a little bit. And so you're going to get a chance to see some of those things. We're playing with BJ Resio from Buko Juice Games, and our very own Richard Ruane is going to be back for that. And it looks like Charlie Ferguson Avery is going to be joining us also too. So, Richard, do you not play with Charlie? Are you upset?
No. I've only gotten to like hang out with Charlie. We've actually never gotten to play a game together.
That's super exciting. I'm super excited we all get to play together tomorrow. It's a great crew to sit down and play with. If you're a designer out there, you ever want to feature one of your games on channel, feel free to reach out to us, especially if you're releasing an Exalted Funeral. We love working with Exalted creators and getting y'all's stuff featured on screen. But even if you're not, if you're independently producing, putting it out on itch, kickstarting something, it's never too early to reach out and start the conversation around how we can support you here on the channel. If you want to support the channel, the best way is to check out the links below. Go over to our Ko-fi, kofi.com /+1EXP. Or right now, if you want to, when you're on Exalted Funeral, picking up a copy of Zed and Two Noughts, just pick up a copy of iToaster also too. It's also 50% off. It's a great little game that is about me processing my trauma around Brave Little Toaster. It is the most deadly OSR game about tabletop appliances you'll ever play. And so, guys, I'm the biggest designer who has ever created an iToaster inspired RPG. I just want you to know that. Literally just the biggest. Like, I'm the fattest. I weigh the most out of everybody. There's other ones who weigh less. And so, with that said, we're gonna do a giveaway.
We got 2 copies, right?
We got a copy we're gonna give away right now. We got a copy we're gonna give away on Twitter later on also too. But we're gonna pick one right now. Oh, do you have them? Or are you just taking down information?
Do I have them? No, physically.
No, I didn't think so. Yeah, you're fine.
No, so they laid it. So one of the things that I find super fun and great is when these sales, which we know they happen a couple times a year, appear, and my bosses are like, get us stuff to sell. And I'm like, cool. Hello, friends. How quickly can you make things is usually the call. and a series of typed messages, and then then some actual calls. And we got Zed Two Noughts skated to the warehouse. It arrived Monday, and the sale was Thursday. So, I mean, like that is like we let us in. Josh is wearing the shirt. Let us in. Arrived at the warehouse, I think Monday or Tuesday, and the sale for Halloween, and it went on Friday. So, I've been leveling up in my logistics.
There we go.
It wasn't stressful at all or anything.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, for anybody out there who's a designer, Jarrett, when's the next time you're going to need those pitches by so people can start thinking about that?
So next big sale will be the free RPG next July, and I'll be putting up. I'm going to see if I can't get Matt to give me a little space on one of the pages, just kind of give some outline, or maybe I'll just host a Google Doc that nobody can they can just read only, with just like, here's the deadlines and here's the process. And so we got it pretty much down and pretty streamlined.
I have 2 features for you.
Yes, exactly. Like I love it. Like it's super fun. I get to do fun stuff. I get to work with cool people. I get to see all kinds of things. So we'll have some announcements. I think I'm going to be we're supposed to be taking a break in December. We'll see. Big plans for next year. I've got some more secrets. Maybe we'll learn about them on the next episode of Funeral Party. I don't know, Tony.
I don't know. Well, guess we'll find out. By the way, our winner today of our giveaway is Wendi Hugh.
What?
Nice.
Oh my god!
I mean, Wendi did just spend the last 6 hours with us, so whether it was actually winning or not, that's a good. It's a good question.
I have a note here that says, Wendi, send her a bunch of stuff, because as I was showing the scratch and dent giveaways, she was messaging in our side chat. She was like, "Give me the stuff.
Give me everything." Awesome. Well, I'm super excited by that. Again, come back tomorrow evening. We're going to play Reach of the Roach God. I'm super excited to play with Zedek again. I got to run a game for them a little while ago with Diogo and a few other folks, and was super blast. Just super generous player. Very excited to see them in the GM seat and explore the Reach of the Roach God. And I've yet to be able to play anything in Thousand Islands, so I am also super excited about that. So coming back tomorrow for that. And until next time, we're all going to wave at the cameras until I take us off air.
Imagine I'm waving.
I have not taken us off yet, I promise. I know.